Ready to dive into a world where wizards are real, magic shapes kingdoms, and destiny plays a wild game of chess? Welcome to the story of Merlin, the legendary wizard with enough magical mojo to shape the future of Britain. From prophecies to sword-pulling, dragon whispering and royal drama, Merlin's journey is one you won't want to miss. If you're into epic battles, spellbinding secrets, and a few jaw-dropping twists, then pull up a seat, because Camelot's calling, and the adventure is just beginning. The moon hung low over Camelot, casting a pale silver glow upon the ancient towers of the great castle. Beneath the shifting skies, the winds whispered secrets of an age before time, a time when magic ruled the world and the destinies of men were shaped by the hands of the gods. This was the world Merlin the Great Wizard was born into, a world where his legacy would shape the future of Britain. Merlin's birth was no ordinary one. Born of a mortal woman and an incubus, his origins were steeped in the mystery of both the divine and the infernal. His mother, a noblewoman of Carmarthen, had been visited by a demonic force, leaving her with a child destined for greatness and darkness in equal measure. From an early age, Merlin exhibited powers that set him apart from other men. His ability to see the future, to control the elements, and to speak with creatures from other realms made him both revered and feared. Merlin was raised in the wilds by the Fae and creatures of the old world, where he learned the ancient magic that would one day guide him to Arthur, the once and future king. His connection to nature was unparalleled, for he could speak with the winds, command the beasts, and even change his form at will. It was in the forests of Avalon that Merlin began his journey toward his true purpose, finding and guiding the one who would unite Britain. The prophecies spoke of a king who would pull the sword from the stone, a king chosen by the gods to bring peace to a fractured land. It was Merlin who set the stage for Arthur's rise. With his unmatched foresight, he orchestrated the events that led the young boy born of King Uther Pendragon to claim his destiny. Arthur, unaware of his royal lineage, lived as a humble squire under the care of Sir Ector. Merlin's role was not simply that of a tutor or advisor. He was a father figure to Arthur, guiding him through the trials that would one day shape him into the legendary King of Camelot. The day Arthur pulled the sword Excalibur from the stone was the day Merlin's prophecies began to unfold. The young king had unknowingly set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of history. But with greatness came danger. Arthur's ascension brought enemies from both within and outside Camelot. Morgana, the king's half-sister, and a powerful sorceress in her own right, was one of the greatest threats. Raised alongside Arthur, Morgana harboured resentment and jealousy that would fester into a desire for revenge. Merlin had seen her fall from grace in his visions, but even he could not prevent the darkness that took root in her heart. As Camelot grew in strength, so too did the bonds between Arthur, Merlin, and the Knights of the Round Table. Chief among these knights was Sir Lancelot, a warrior without equal. But with Lancelot came a great and tragic love, the love between him and Queen Guinevere, Arthur's wife. Merlin had foreseen the love triangle long before it unfolded, and he knew that this betrayal would fracture the heart of Camelot. Despite his power, Merlin could not intervene in matters of the heart. He watched as the love between Guinevere and Lancelot grew, and as Arthur, oblivious at first, became aware of the betrayal. The great king's heart broke, and the unity of the Round Table, once strong and unyielding, began to crumble. Morgana, ever the opportunist, used this moment of weakness to strike. Her magic, learned from the darkest sources, rivaled even Merlin's. She conspired with Mordred, Arthur's illegitimate son, born of an incestuous relationship with Morgause, another of his half-sisters. Together, Morgana and Mordred sought to bring about the fall of Camelot. Merlin, though wise and powerful, knew that fate could not be altered. The prophecies he had seen in his youth told of a final battle between Arthur and Mordred, one that would bring about the end of Camelot as they knew it. He watched helplessly as the kingdom fell into disarray and the once great Round Table fractured. The Battle of Camlan was a bloody and tragic affair. Arthur and Mordred faced each other on the battlefield, and in their final clash both delivered fatal blows. Mordred fell first, his ambition and hatred extinguished, but Arthur too was mortally wounded. As the king lay dying, Merlin wept for the future he had long foreseen, but had been powerless to prevent. With Arthur's death, Camelot crumbled. The once glorious kingdom descended into chaos, and Merlin, heartbroken by the loss of his king and friend, disappeared into the mists of Avalon. Some say he was taken by the Fae, others that he retreated to a hidden cave to live out his days in solitude. But one thing was certain: Merlin's time in the world of men had come to an end. Though Merlin vanished from the world, his legacy endured. Arthur was taken to Avalon, where, according to legend, he would one day rise again when Britain was in its greatest need. Merlin had seen this future too, the time when the once and future king would return to unite the land. Merlin's life was one of love, sacrifice, and betrayal. He loved Arthur as a father loves a son, and he sacrificed much to ensure the rise of the great king. Yet he was betrayed by the forces of destiny, which he could never fully control. In the end, Merlin learned that even the greatest of wizards could not escape the whims of fate. As the centuries passed, stories of Merlin the Great Wizard became legend. He was remembered not just for his magic, but for his wisdom, his loyalty, and his unshakable belief in the prophecy of the once and future king.